So what sort of progress have you seen from your defensive line through training camp thus far? Where are they relative to where you want them?
We're coming along good. I think when I look back, where we were in the spring and how far we've come, I've seen a lot of improvement. It always starts with a guy like George, and I think he sets the standard and the expectation. But I think Branson Dean's had a really good camp. Jack Sullivan's steady. Lawrence coming off of a pretty traumatic injury, and so far he's been out there every day working. So I think our first group of guys is in good shape. Caden Jenkins has gotten a lot better to where he was in the spring. So I just think the group as a whole working hard. I think we're going out and trying to just, as coaches talk, get a little bit better every day. I feel like we've done that. Today was a little challenging because it was a little humid, but it was a good day overall. So steady progress, and we just got to keep projecting upward, and we're pleased so far.
Just the transfers, Lewis and Boyd, what have you seen from them, and what do you anticipate their
I see a lot of want to. DeMarge got slowed up a little bit. He broke a bone, but he's back out there now. So nothing serious, nothing long term. Just learning to play with a cast right now. So both those guys love to play. Prince has come in and worked hard too. And so I think both those guys are nice additions. Still too early to say, hey, where do they project long term? But so far so good. Like I say, they've learned the system. That's the most important thing. And that was the plus with those guys coming in June, was the way the rules are now. With the summer, we can spend a little time with them as coaches, not all the time, but enough time to where we were able to install our defense twice. And so now we're actually installing it for a third time, and so I think those guys have picked up the playbook pretty well. So far so good.
What do you want to define? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Where does a guy like Austin maybe fit? Bryson Austin?
Bryce, I mean, it's competitive, right? I mean, we've got some guys in there right now, and, I think, Bryce has shown improvement from the spring. I think sometimes Bryce can be his own worst enemy. I think Bryce has got a lot of talent. I think he just needs to up the effort level, not all the time, but just from a consistent standpoint. But he's got guys pushing him. Lawrence is in there. Jeff Marks has done some good things so far this spring. We'll see if that continues. And then we've been using DJ Washington a little bit, and although he's very raw, he moves better than anybody we have at nose for a guy that's 310, 315 pounds. He's very, very strong. So been pleasantly surprised with him so far. So I say nothing earth-shattering right now. I say so far so good in camp. We're in about a week and a half, maybe a little bit more than that, but we got to start kind of figuring some things out from a depth standpoint. I think this next scrimmage on Saturday will allow us to do that.
Jeff's talked a lot about wanting this defense to be more aggressive. How does the defensive front kind of fit into that without giving away any trade secrets?
Well, I just think the aggressiveness that we play with, I mean, there's different styles to play up front. Sometimes people say, well, you're a read, so you're a little bit slower off the ball and then attack. I don't think we have the personnel to wait, on the snap of the ball. We want to get a jump on the ball, and that doesn't mean we're blindly running up the field. The verbiage that I use is attacking your technique. So if you're a 3 technique, you're attacking that outside half of the guard, and you want to dominate the B gap. And so I think it's a mindset is where it starts. And that's where I think Branson Dean's excelled. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but I think in our system of how we're going to play our front guys, we want to be aggressive, establish a new line of scrimmage, and I think he's taken advantage of that. Others have too, but I think so far in camp, from a consistency standpoint, I've seen that out of him every day, which is good.
I know you don't have necessarily the background with George as much, but what's been your first impression of him? And you've seen any sort of next step he's taken from what you saw his freshman year? Obviously last year was kind of a wash, but do you see some sort of next step he's taken as a player from what you can tell?
I think it's just polishing up his entire game. I mean, he's a pro in how he handles the day-to-day process, and what I mean by that is he's eating right, he's in extra in the training room when he's not hurt, just taking care of his body, he's getting enough sleep. He's a guy that wants to meet every day in addition to what you're doing in your overall meetings. He's calling me on the phone before I've even gotten through all the film because he's already watched it. So to me, it's just, we talked about this in the spring, it's just the finer points. We've already gone through and watched every rep of spring ball. He studied the edge guys in the last year's draft. He's watched every guy, strengths and weaknesses. He wanted to start watching Oregon State back in May, you know, and I had to slow him down there. So I mean, he's just off the charts from wanting to be the very best he can be. And right now, you know, we got a good O-line, but we know we're going to play some better ones out there, and that's not a knock against our guys. But I tell George, you got to go out every day and practice to a standard, not just against the guy you're across from, but practice to the standard that you've set for yourself. I think that's, and he's focused on doing that, so it's good to see.
From a leadership perspective, is that stuff wearing off on people? Is he trying to bring everybody with him with that standard?
He is, and I think that was one challenge for him, that he's not the most vocal guy in the world. He's gonna, you know, he's gonna lead by example, but that's not always the most important. Leading by example is good, but you got to bring other people along with you. And sometimes he's had to get out of his comfort zone and speak up when guys aren't meeting that standard, and that's what the great leaders do. So you not only set the standard, but you make sure everybody's adhering to that standard. So he's doing more of that. I think he's come a long way, but still has a long way to go in terms of the verbal part of it.
How valuable the campus has been for Jenkins, because, you know, he's playing, you know, DeMarcus is out and hasn't, you know, missed significant time, but just how valuable has this been for him?
It's been great. I mean, it's been very, very valuable. He's taken advantage of every rep. I say he's you know, he had a good spring, but still was a long ways away, and I think he's come a long way. I think he's gotten better at just his, you know, just the basics, his stance, his alignments, his footwork. He's cleaned up. He loves to play. That's always a great starting point for anybody on a football field, is the love of the game. Very, very physical. So it'll be good to get DeMarcus back. We expect him back, you know, any day, and you know, start getting the rust knocked off of him. But they're very, very happy so far with Cadian's progress. But he's got a long way to go still too.
Jack's working in both spots. Jack Sullivan.
A little bit, yep. So he's backing up George at end, and then you've got, you know, Joe Anderson is the third guy out there, but we've worked Jack into the boundary some. Jack is just a talented guy, right? I don't think he's great at any one thing, but he's very, you know, he's good at a lot of things. He could even slide inside and help us on the interior if you want to, you know, go to your best pass rush front. I think he would excel more maybe at times as an inside guy, so we can move him around. He's very, very smart. And so bumping him into the boundary is not too much on his plate. We've done a little bit of that just to protect ourselves. You never know from a depth standpoint where you're going to be.
You talked about Lawrence. How is he adjusted to the new defense, and what have you seen from him?
I think the biggest thing coming back is just physically from him, right? I mean, the dislocated hip, that's a pretty traumatic injury, and so just getting him back out here, I think he was a little tentative at first just to see how the hip would respond, but like I say, he's made it through every practice, and I think all the guys like the system. I mean, I do. I mean, I don't want to speak to what they did last year. What I've seen on video, it wasn't super aggressive from a front standpoint, and I think guys want to play in a more of an attacking style. Now, with that said, you got to go out and do it too. You know, you don't want to talk one thing. I mean, so we're grading our get off, and we're grading, you know, how well we attack. You know, not just at certain times during the practice, but we grade it throughout practice.
What can you get out of Lewis? What's his kind of thing for you?
You know, DeMarge, again, a guy that just loves football. I think he gives you some size at the 3 technique. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a natural 300-pounder. I think beyond him, you know, you're looking at guys in that 75 to 85 range, so he gives you more size, gives you some explosiveness. Now, again, he's raw. He hadn't played yet. But I was able to watch him, recruit him out of high school, and I think I know what he's got, but he's still got to get out there during the game and do it too. But I think he gives us a little bit bigger body, an explosive athlete that loves to play. We just got to knock some of the rust off of him being out the past week with the bone in his hand. We've got to protect it pretty good, and he was back out there today and running around pretty good.
Yeah. What was it like being back in Ross Edge?
Oh, it was great. It was great. Like I said, I thought our guys, typically defense is going to be a little bit ahead, first time out, and we had a good day. But again, it's nothing for us to sit back and relax on. Again, it's reminding guys it's about getting better daily. So when we go back out there here in a couple days, again on Saturday, I'm going to look for an improved overall performance. That's the mindset. That's the expectation.
Is there anything specific that you want to see Saturday?
I think from a coaching staff, we're going to have the headsets on. We just ran it like a regular practice. So we're going to have guys in the box and on the sideline. So it'll be our first run through you know, with Coach Lambert being up top and the other guys in the box and the rest of us down the field. So that's always an important piece from a communication standpoint, making sure you got the right guys, you know, with the signals. You're going to have multiple signalers out there in today's day and age. There's a lot of people wanting to steal your signals. So just that whole process, you know, and from a player standpoint, again, it's just going out there, whatever the format is that Coach Brown gives us. We just want to go out and compete and play at a high level.